Okay, back. Tell me a little bit, Terry, about the time that when you were on the road with Elvis in Vegas and everything, he would always invite people to come up to the suite. Mm-hmm. And I know with a lot of the band people, he invited to do gospel all night long. Tell me in your own words, how was that like to be part of that? And is it really the way people said it was, that it was all night long in the suite? And what was one or two of his favorite songs that when he called you up, we're doing these songs?
Oh, yeah. Well, 2 or 3 times a week after the second show, which ended around 2 a.m. in the morning, he invited us up to the penthouse. And you've never seen anything so beautiful as that penthouse was. But he would start out doing his karate demonstrations for the guys and for all the people that he invited up there. You know, he was a black belt in karate, so mm-hmm. he loved doing his karate moves for us. And Charlie Hodge was his guinea pig. He used to beat up on Charlie all the time. But we would sit around and watch Elvis beat up Charlie, and then we would go to the piano, and we would stand around the piano, and he would sing gospel music. One of his favorite songs was "Amazing Grace," and a lot of the time, one particular time when we were singing "Amazing Grace," Big Mama Cass was there. Mm. And she was, you know, the heavyset woman of Mamas and the Papas. And she stood there as we were singing Amazing Grace. And before we started, she said, "Elvis, why do you do all these gospel songs? I don't understand." So then we sang Amazing Grace, all 4 verses. Mm. When we'd been there 10,000 years, and by the time we finished the song, I looked over at Big Mama Cass and she was crying. And when we finished the song, there was this hush up there in the penthouse. And she looked at Elvis and said, through tears in her eyes, she says, "Elvis, I'm so sorry. I know now why you sing all these gospel songs." Mm. She said, "I haven't sung that song since I was a little girl."
Wow, that is something. The influence that you had even on her and didn't even know it.
Yeah.
I mean, so you never know what kind of influence you'll have. After the Imperials left Elvis Presley, did y'all keep in touch with him during the period of time after you left him?
Oh, yes. When we left Elvis, we started singing with Jimmy Dean, and we were at the Desert Inn with Jimmy. And there were many nights that Elvis would come over from his performances at the International Hotel and sit in the audience and listen to us sing with Jimmy Dean. In fact, he said one night Jimmy was in the middle of his telling of jokes. He was a good joke teller. There was a little pause in between his jokes, and this voice bellowed out from the audience, "Let the Imperials sing."
Wow.
And he ignored it for a bit, and then the guy said again, "Let the Imperials sing." So he turned the stage over to us, and we sang for Elvis and the whole crowd.
Wow.
So he was always a fan of our group. And to this day, I regret leaving Elvis. It wasn't my decision. But I had to do what the owners of the group wanted to do. But Elvis never lost his respect for the group, and he always admired the Imperials and their music.
I know that when Elvis died, he had a couple of special requests to be done at his funeral, with his father, you know, going up there and being involved, but JD getting everything together. Mm-hmm. Now, I know this one is close to you because of who he wanted to sing at the funeral. Tell me a little bit about that, and then tell me where you were when you heard the news that Elvis had passed away.
When Elvis died, let's see, he died in 77?
Yeah, August 16th. Yeah.
I had started this group, Andrus Blackwood and Company.
Mm-hmm.
Sherman Andrus and I were in the Imperials together. And we were starting out on a tour, and we got a call telling us that Elvis had passed away. Unfortunately, because of our schedule, we were unable to attend, but my Uncle James sang for his funeral, I think.
You know, it's powerful. I know he always thought the world of the Blackwoods.
He did. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is one of his favorites. I mean, and, you know, when you go to Graceland, just about all the music that you see, the LPs and stuff, are gospel.
Mm-hmm.
Just about all of them. I don't believe there's any rock and roll. If there is, it's not displayed. And it's by the Stamps. It's by the Statesman. Imperials, I mean, it's all over the place. I mean, if you didn't know no better, you thought he ran a record company of gospel music.
I think he's the biggest record seller of all time.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of gold records there in Graceland, and we were on some of those.
I know that is definitely something that y'all are proud of because it's part of history.
Mm-hmm.
How was it, Terry, when you got the news that y'all were being inducted into the Gospel Music Hall of Fame as a group, as the Imperials? I know that had to be a thrill for y'all because it recognizes the body of work that you did not only with Elvis, but you did collectively as a group away from Elvis. Plus, Elvis was also a member of the Gospel Music Hall of Fame himself.
That's right.
So I wonder how you feel about that, being in the Hall of Fame that Elvis was with and having worked with him them years.
Well, I was very honored and humbled by it because I wasn't expecting it, but also gratified that all of the hard work that I had done for many years, well, on the piano, 30 minutes once a week with Pernie Wiley teaching me classical piano. But I was honored to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and you know, it's history, but it was something that I always appreciated, and I was humbled by it as well.
How long did y'all work with Jimmy Dean? And then second, when y'all left Jimmy Dean, what were some more artists or some more artists that you went to studio and did, you know, vocal work for?
We did backup at that time. We did backup for a lot of the country artists. We worked behind Pat Boone and his girls for a while. The Boone sisters, his daughters, and us. The Imperials were with Pat Boone for a while, and we also sang. Some of your viewers might remember her, Carol Channing, who was on Broadway with Hello Dolly, and we did several months in Tahoe with Carol Channing. So we've sung with a lot of country artists and artists like Carol Channing and Pat Boone, and enjoyed every bit of it. We had, at that time, we had a group that everybody wanted to back them up. And we did just about anyone that wanted to do a record, if they paid us the right amount of money, we did. We didn't give our services away.
Did you do any work with Frank Sinatra? Because I know he was around during that time, the Rat Pack, them kind of things.
Never did. I wish we had. I wish we could have, but we never did. Our first engagement with Jimmy Dean was at a theater in the Round in West Covina, California, and at that time, Jimmy had employed the Cimarron Singers, 12 male vocalists from New York City, all with doctor's degrees. And Jimmy had heard about the group, and he asked us if we would want to try out. So we flew to New York. He flew us to New York, and he put the music down in front of us, and we sang it. And he was very impressed. So immediately he fired for the Cimarron Singers and hired the Imperials to fit into the Cimarron Singers. Our first engagement out with Jimmy was in West Covina, California, and the Linden Sisters. About halfway into the show, Jimmy said, "Now in this group of 12 male vocalists is a quartet, a gospel quartet, and I'd like for them to sing a song for you." So we got the microphones, we went out to the middle of the theater in the round. There were people all around us. And they kicked off the music to He Touched Me. We did He Touched Me to Jimmy Dean's audience. The next day, the review said, "A great show last night with Jimmy Dean, the Linden Sisters, and these 4 men. I can't recall the name of the group, but they had these shotgun voices."
Wow.
But he said they were very impressive. So the review was really good.
Wow. Back then, what were some of the talk shows that the Imperials appeared on? I know there was quite a few that were back then that are no longer in existence today, but can you name me a few of them? And then what was your favorite of that batch?
We sang behind Jimmy Dean with a guy named Mike Douglas on the Mike Douglas Show.
Mm-hmm.
We did Joey Bishop's show, and we did the Merv Griffin Show.
Mm-hmm.
In particular, the night we did the Merv Griffin with Jimmy Dean, on the set that night was Greer Garson, the actress, Greer Garson. And we did our song, He Touched Me, by ourselves without Jimmy. And after we sang the song, the cameras panned back to Merv Griffin and Greer Garson. And she said, just off the top of her head, she said, "Well, it's good to know that the devil doesn't have all the good music."
Wow.
Yeah.
I know back then there was quite a few shows, such as Johnny Carson.
Yeah, we never got to do Johnny. I love Johnny. Johnny was my favorite. But we never got to do the Johnny Carson talk. Joey Bishop was kind of a rival to Johnny at that time. But Joey had a good following, and it was a great opportunity to be on that show, to be seen nationally.
If there was one entertainer, if you could pick one that you did not record or work with that you're saying, "Gosh, I wish I would have went ahead and worked with them," who would that be?
I would love to have sung with behind Frank Sinatra. Any number. I mean, I always loved Nat King Cole's voice. There were a lot of singers back then who were great crooners, who had a great voice. We just never had the opportunity to work with them. But it's hard to beat Elvis Presley when it comes to singing backup. So I loved our work with Elvis, and I think he enjoyed having us as backup singers.
Now, I know since you've left Elvis and the years have passed, y'all have a large following all over the world, especially in Europe. It seems like when you go to Germany, you go to London, you go to Czech Republic, all them places, even though Elvis never performed overseas, the people still love him, and they love the people that were a part of him, that recorded with him and worked with him. And I know that when you go there, you see the crowds and say, "Man, if Elvis would have played there, he would have packed them there, probably even more than America, because they're wanting that." How has that made you feel after all these years that people not only did they not forget Elvis, but they embrace you and Jim and so many of them that work with him?
I'm surprised that after all these years, that instead of Elvis's image and his music died, it's become bigger and bigger. And the irony is that Elvis never toured Europe. And I think because of that, people in Europe want to talk to and to get to know anyone who ever sang with Elvis or played with Elvis. And that's why after all these years, the Imperials, myself or Jim, can go over to Europe, and we would command a pretty good audience of people who, if they didn't ever meet Elvis, they would want to meet somebody that worked with Elvis. And that's why the Imperials have developed such a following after all these years. Jimmy Dean was a big help in getting our career started, but Elvis opened up the doors for many of the dates that we did in Europe.
Do you think that today, I know they still have the anniversaries in Memphis, do you think it's become too commercialized versus what it was at the very beginning when Elvis died? Because it seems like they've added more and more things, and it seems like some of that stuff could be viewed as they've taken some of that history and removed it and put stuff that people don't recognize. Do you get that feeling, or do you see it in a different way?
I don't see it that way. I think Graceland has done the logical thing since Elvis has passed.
Right.
The audiences that Graceland gets now are there to see either the Imperials, or they're there to see an Elvis impersonator, someone who looks like Elvis or tries to sound like Elvis. And there are a lot of really good Elvis impersonators out there. And the Graceland has gone that direction. They continue to have huge crowds, all of them, most of them from Europe, but a lot of them here from the U.S. And Graceland has their big times, or their biggest months are January and August, the anniversary of Elvis's birth and his death. And we were there in January and had a huge crowd and a great response.
What would you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered when it's all been said and done?
Well, I hope I'm not dying anytime soon, but I hope that my music continues to touch people's hearts and lives. I have tried very hard to be faithful to that calling that God has given me. I'm singing now a lot of the older hymns on Facebook, songs that I used to hear in church all the time, like Great Is Thy Faithfulness, and songs like that people used to sing but don't sing anymore. And I've developed quite a few people who appreciate my singing the old hymns. I've done songs like I've Got Confidence, songs like Stand By Me that Elvis sang, in the storm, when the storms of life are raging, stand by me. And It Is Well With My Soul, some of the old hymns that people don't hear much anymore. But I think people enjoy hearing those since they don't hear them in church much now.
How do you feel that your faith guided you through your career? You know, as far as when you started to where you are right now.
I don't know how to answer that except to say I just felt impressed that I should begin doing some of the older hymns that I didn't hear when I would go to church. And so I started out singing some of the old hymns. It was not something that I felt like I needed to do, but it was something I felt like I wanted to do. And the first one wasn't easy. I mean, I'm not one who does live videos. I have to take, sometimes when I began, it'd take me 10 to 15 times of doing the song before I got it to the point where I said, okay, that's as good as I can do right now. So I enjoy doing those, and I think the people enjoy hearing them. And about 2 months ago, I got a new website, a new web designer, at terryblackwood.com, and it kind of goes through the history of my career and my music, and it has a lot of videos of my time with Bill Gaither. We did a lot of the Gaither homecoming videos. I did specifically a song that Gaither married to me called Remind Me, Dear Lord, and it's had a huge number of hits. But I continue to do those old familiar songs that people don't sing much anymore. And the website is terryblackwood.com. You can go there and see all the videos. and you can buy some of my merchandise there. Actually, you can download some of my music there.
I know that when you were talking about, being part of your family, getting it started, you had to have some sort of down deep passion that once you got started, you never look back. It's like, you know what? I have got to be part of this without really maybe not knowing what it was. Did you always have a burning desire in you once you got started that you wanted to do more and different creative things in the music business, and you felt like, well, man, I've been given this kind of gift and I'm going to see where it takes me because I really like doing this. I can't see myself doing anything else.
Well, back when I was studying classical piano, I didn't really know where I was going to wind up. I didn't enjoy it, by the way. Classical music is difficult, but it's also very rewarding after you finish a song. But I had my daddies and the Blackwoods always had a passion to sing to people. And they had quite a following back when they first started for a number of years, up into the 50s when JD joined them, and they had a huge following. But I think I had deep within me a passion for singing and playing, and I didn't know where it would lead me, but I always felt like, well, this door's opening, I'm going to walk through it. And I just walked through the doors that got opened. But to get there, I had to pay my dues, and that meant hours and hours of playing the piano, going over a song over and over again until I got it right, or close to perfect. I'm a perfectionist, and I don't like half-hearted singing and half-hearted playing. So most of the videos your audience will see and hear are pretty good for a guy who has this little Wurlitzer electric piano that's about 70 years old. But I feel like that's what the Lord has now. Now, I've had several invitations to go overseas this year, and I'm probably going to take advantage of that as well. So I really don't know the future, but I know that I'm just taking it one day at a time.
What are some of the places you're looking to go overseas this year, possibly?
For about 9 years, we sang behind an Austrian artist named Dennis Jale.
Okay.
And the Imperials would go over there and back him up. And he would love to have me back, but I haven't made the decision to go over there with him yet. But I've got a promoter from Italy that wants me to come to Milan in May, and he wants me to sing my gospel music to the Italian people that he is able to get to the concert. It'll be in a huge Catholic cathedral over in Milan, Italy. Wow. So I think I'll do that. I don't know what else will open up, but I'm available.
Well, it sounds to me like you've got some interesting things that are coming up. How do you feel about the Elvis movie that come up with Austin Butler? Do you feel it's an accurate portrayal of Elvis, or do you feel like some things could have been put in there that were not put in there to display Elvis and who he was in his music?
I saw the movie. I thought it was a really well done movie, but I was not really pleased with their emphasis on the secular side of Elvis as opposed to his gospel side. And Austin did a great job of impersonating Elvis, but I don't know that I agreed with a lot of the history that people were led to believe. I'm not sure it was true, but I don't know. I didn't know Elvis's mother that well, but I know that Elvis loved his mother deeply. And so as far as the movie's concerned, I think it's a part of Elvis, but I don't think it's anywhere near the entirety of the personality of Elvis Presley. Because I think if Elvis had his desires, he would have been a gospel singer, not a rock and roll singer. But Elvis is one of those few individuals that rock and roll music found him. He didn't go seeking rock and roll music. Rock and roll music found him and made him a star. But I think his first love had always been gospel music. I think he wished that he had been in a gospel group instead of being a rock and roll singer. And that's why when we're up in the penthouse, we're singing gospel music till 5 a.m, because that's the kind of music he loved the most.
Yeah, from what you can see, he definitely had a calm spirit when the music was being played. And you can see, and everybody said that worked with him, we were up there every single night when we was out in Vegas, 5, 6, 7 in the morning. Yeah. And that was another reason why I wanted to see, how it was for you to be part of that. Because you probably won't ever see that kind of style ever happen again in the future.
No, I would have to say that I think that Elvis was the greatest entertainer of all time across all genres. Elvis's memory has been kept alive all these years because people, more so with Europeans, because they never got to see Elvis in person. So they just can't get enough of him. In January and in August, a lot of the Elvis fan clubs in Europe fly all the way over to Memphis for Elvis Week, and they sit there in that hotel and they watch Elvis impersonators and the Imperials sing their songs and honor the guy who passed away in '77.
Wow! After all these years.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind doing 1 or 2 verses of your favorite gospel song by Elvis? Whichever one that may be. I know you mentioned a few earlier that he really liked, that you like, and I like about all of them, to be honest with you. I mean, they were really good.
Well, I could sing a little bit of How Great Thou Art and a little bit of Sweet Spirit.
Okay.
Oh, Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe display. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art.
Loved it.
There's a sweet, sweet spirit in this place, and I know that it's the Spirit of the Lord. There are sweet expressions on each face, and I know they feel the presence of the Lord. Sweet Holy Spirit, sweet heavenly dove, stay right here with us, filling us with your love, and for these blessings we lift our hearts in praise. Without a doubt we'll know that we have been revived when we shall leave
There you got it, folks. Terry Blackwood, thank you so much for interviewing with us today. And like he said earlier, go to www.terryblackwood.com to get into merchandise, CDs, see him in a town near you, wherever he comes. And we have been joined by one of the greatest people in the world of music today. That was part of Elvis, and it's been a real treat. And like I said, when you come to our channel, we want you to subscribe, we want you to view, and we want you to share. And just remember, these guys made the history that you see and hear on record, video, television, and it will live forever, way past any of us. Remember that, and we hope we're able to have presented that in a way that it goes to the existing audience, but also getting new audience members that come out and say, wow, I didn't know that. So thank you so very much for joining us, and we will be presenting another video in the near future, so keep subscribing, keep listening. Thank you so much, Mr. Blackwood.
Thank you, Wayne.